I am very happy to be here. I think that the atmosphere and indeed what we've learned tonight has been very stimulating, and it's been a great evening. And when I look around the evening, and I can see it very well from here, I can actually feel, or I think I can feel, the energy, the vitality, the ambition, and the success of the women who are here tonight. And it feels natural and it feels comfortable, and this is how it should be. I'm deeply honored to receive this award. It's a great privilege for me to share a stage, I mean metaphorically speaking, with the other recipients, with Katie, Claire, Anya, and Christine. And it's most interesting, I think, to see how varied our backgrounds are and how different our worlds. But what we have in common is a drive to succeed. This drive comes from an inner dedication that keeps each of us going in a world that doesn't necessarily expect women to come to the fore. Getting ready for this evening prompted me to think about the path I have taken and the people who inspired me throughout my own life. I suppose the first inspiration came from my father, William, and also with him, of course, was my mother, but he always encouraged me, and I was the only girl among the boys. So to have one's father's encouragement actually meant a great deal. From an early stage, he made it quite clear that he didn't expect any of his children, sons or daughter, there was only one daughter, to settle for mediocrity. My great passion as a teenager was for music. And although he gave me the opportunity to pursue that career, I myself recognized that I simply wasn't good enough. So I opted to study law at UCD instead. Now, he fully supported my choice, but there was one condition, and that is that I would have to take a second degree in languages. No question of opting for one or the other. No battle of wits to see which would win out. Instead, the compromise, if I could call it that, was to double up on education. In other words, I had to go and do 2 degrees at the same time. With hindsight, I realized that he wanted me to have a sort of fallback position in a career that was more open to men than to women at that time. And perhaps he thought that I would have a career as an interpreter or a translator, or indeed as a teacher. But knowing his daughter, he wasn't foolish enough to tell me what he thought I should be. Languages proved to be a door opener to enormous opportunities in Europe. At university, I became involved in the Irish Council for the European Movement and the European Youth Campaign. Through these bodies, I began working with people of my own age right across Europe. And of course, naturally, there were men and women, and particularly girls at that stage. Coming from the small island of Ireland, I had a certain cachet, if I could put it that way. But more importantly, I began to see myself as a European and as belonging to the continent. And in Ireland of the 1950s, this feeling wasn't as widespread, probably, as it became later. Joining the EEC, as the European Economic Community was then known, broke the stranglehold of the Irish reliance on the UK. But it is worth remembering that quite apart from the trade opportunities that it opened up to Ireland, possibly the most important consequence of our joining the EEC, and I speak here as one who possibly benefited from it, was the abolition of something called the marriage bar. if any of you have ever heard of it. This forced women in the public sector and many in the private sector to leave their jobs when they got married. Up to that time, there were very few opportunities for married women, and consequently, my own career up to that point was as a writer and a broadcaster, and had to be as a freelancer. Joining the EEC may have created a culture shift in Ireland, but in the 1970s, it was a decade of high unemployment, high emigration, and high prices. Doesn't it sound familiar? Now, those who were working and bearing the brunt of the cost of running the country reached a point of frustration that led to massive demonstrations and a demand for reform, including other things, of the taxation system. People were seeking justice and fairness. And I think most people are born with that sense of justice. Now, we, if you like, can only deliver the right thing if the system itself allows us to do that. So how do you get from this point? Maybe you have to join a political party. Maybe you have to support a political movement. Maybe you have to study what's going on around you so that you can work out how to change your world. As a student of public policy, I myself came to the conclusion that certain things were wrong and had to be put right. Chairing the Commission on Taxation from 1980 to 1985 gave me, with the help of a superb team of colleagues, an opportunity to delve deeply into an issue of great public concern. Our commission was comprised of representatives of every sector in society: unions, employers, farming, and business. And indeed, women were specifically represented by Camilla Hannon, who was president of the largest then women's organisation in Ireland, the Irish Countrywomen's Association. From the very initial stages, it was clear that in order to make recommendations on how to reform the tax system, we would have to find out accurately how it actually worked and what was actually in it. And that wasn't, as a matter of fact, that wasn't as easy as it sounds. I come back again and again to the importance of women contributing to society and to public service. In my experience, women have an innate capacity to examine theory and to relate it to the reality of life. And that's actually how you solve social problems. The reports of our Commission on Taxation took this very practical approach and covered the whole range of taxation. After that, I was invited to join a number of commercial boards. Now, that became tricky. Why was I being asked to join a commercial board? What had I to offer? Possibly the fact that I was a woman was no harm, because there really weren't too many on commercial boards at that time. However, after grave deliberation, I chose an invitation which had come from an Irish bank. I came to the conclusion that one of the things that, again, if we're talking about helping people or affecting people, that the banking system was actually, at that stage at any rate, very important. Then, back in '89, it's all right, I'm not going to go into greater detail, you needn't worry. But I do think, and I would like to mention here, the Commission on Funding of the Irish Health Service, because really it was quite apparent that there was enormous imbalance between the contribution that was being paid in and the quality of the service that was received by the people at the other end. We clearly, and I say we advisedly because it was all the members of the Commission, we absolutely, we wanted to describe, to understand how the health service was funded and what was happening to it. Because things were happening and it was only too late, and it was only when there was an outcry about something that had gone wrong that you got a serious attempt to examine the system as a whole. Now, I think too that one of the things that none of us here must ever forget is that our contribution can make a difference. The contribution may be to these, like the commissions that I've mentioned, that is at a certain pretty high level, but it can be much, much deeper and much lower and much more pervasive throughout the system. Each time we undertake a project, we bring to it our own expertise, our experience, our personalities, and our opinions. And because we are women, we have something different to offer. With each project, we also get to take something from it. I feel incredibly lucky that my career has brought me into contact with people from such a broad range of backgrounds. I've worked with the masters of the maternity hospitals, with social work, caring for the homeless, politicians, civil servants, business leaders, educators. I've enjoyed my work and my traveling, and I still feel I'm Irish and I'm European. Finally, although I've never pursued that career in music, I've always maintained an active interest in it. I've been involved with Music Network, which some of you may know, since 1995. And this small but very vibrant organization has been pivotal in bringing live Irish and international performances across the length and breadth of Ireland. Next week, for example, and this isn't an ad, but I do mention it, on the 21st of June, Music Network is coordinating Love, Live, the National Music Day. And last year, over 45,000 people got involved in this project. This year, I hope that some of you here will find your way to attend performances that are near you. So I leave you with the following thought. Although I took my BA in Modern Languages at UCD a long time ago, and I was called to the bar a little later, and I got my PhD in Political and Economic Science in 1980, I've never stopped learning. I draw from the stories of those around me, and this evening is full of stories of wonderful people and of a marvelous atmosphere. I have been very honored by this invitation here tonight, and I wish you every possible success in the future. Thank you very much.